Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Katelyn and happy Smaugust! I know we technically already started, but I haven't been able to say it in person on a, I guess, longer length YouTube video. But anyway, today we're going to be doing basically the first week of Smaugust. So it's like, well, it's the first week plus a little more. So today we're going to be doing 1 through 9. And you guys have probably been seeing that I've been posting like little shorts about every dragon that we've been making daily. If not, you can check them out on my shorts tab on my channel. I just thought we'd try it out. I mean, like, doesn't hurt to try something new, so we're trying out these shorts. But today's video is going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to give you guys a breakdown of like the thought process behind creating and drawing these creatures, and you can see the slowed down speed paint of it, not the really quick fast recap, so you can see kind of more how I did the detailing and drew the dragons overall. So yeah, I'll be going through explaining a bit about each dragon, how I made them, my thought process, and kind of showing you a breakdown of what I did for them. I will be starting each one with basically the roll camera footage. It's going to be very similar to the shorts where I'll be like, okay, well, here's what we rolled. Here's what we got, just to make sure if anyone hasn't seen the shorts or seen the dragons, I just wanted to show you kind of how I rolled it and everything. So you'll be seeing that at the beginning of every dragon. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into week 1 of Smaugust, and I'm going to show you the first 9 dragons and how I drew them. All right, guys, so happy Smaugust officially. So here we are with the new challenge board. Okay, so first up with our first D6, we have a 2, so that will be an Asian lung for our first dragon. And now let's go ahead and roll our 2 red dice and see what we get for our double digit. So 42 will be fire. Okay, we have fire, and then let's get our second trait. So we have 58, which is fancy. Oh, that's kind of a fun combo. Okay, so we have 42, which is fire, and 48, which is fancy, and it's going to be an Asian lung. What a great start to Smaugust. Let's get into it. Like my past TikTok me, or Shorts me, said, yeah, this was an awesome start to Smaugust. I was so excited to jump into this one and like kick off this month-long series with this one. I don't know, it just really jived with me. I've always really liked drawing Asian lung dragons for like the longest time. My first comic book, like the main character like was able to transform into an Asian lung, and I drew that dragon a lot. And I've just always really liked Asian lung style dragons. So I was like, this is perfect. It's a great one to start with, and I was so excited to jump into this one. So in terms of like my thought process with this one, I knew I wanted this dragon to be, I guess, a bit more like flamboyant and out there and like kind of like looking like hot shit. Just being like, I look amazing. Like, look how awesome I look. Here's all this cool jewelry I have, and I'm on fire. And I just thought it would be a really fun dragon to design with that in mind. I'm like, I just want this dragon to know they're awesome and wear the coolest accessories and go from there. So while I was getting the coloring process going for this one, I was going back and forth on the main body color, because I was like, okay, we're going to have like the golds and other things for the jewelry, and then the fire is going to be that bright orange, red, yellow combo. And so I kind of struggled back and forth with the color of the dragon in my mind. But then I was like, I hit this like fuchsia pink color, maroon, somewhere in the middle, somewhere. I don't remember like what color you would call it. And I just loved it. I thought it fit this so well and kind of fit that fancy theme as well. And with that, I added like those kind of leopard print spots to this dragon, because I don't know, like, when I think, it's hard because I feel like some animal patterns aren't really seen as fancy anymore, like leopard print or tiger print, I think was just so mass produced in the 90s, and I feel everyone had like some type of animal print shirt. I know I did. I had so many of them. But like, it just makes me think of how, I don't know, it feels like the elite always has like fur coats, or they would have like the leopard coats or like the fancy spotted coats, you know, like it just gives me like Cruella de Vil vibes, you know what I mean? Like a really fancy fur coat with spots is like what I was thinking of for the leopard print. And I thought it just worked perfectly with this dragon. I really like how this one turned out, and it was a great start to this month. Hey guys, welcome to the second day of Roll for Dragon for Smaugust 2024. We are here again with our beautiful giant list of traits and things we can do for making dragons. So let's go ahead and get the first roll going. Okay, so first for our type of dragon, we got a 3, so we have a wyvern today. And then finally we have our 2 dice for our first trait, 70. So 70 is a shadow. Okay, so we got shadow, and let's get our second number, 60, which is anthropomorphic. So we have an anthropomorphic shadow wyvern. Why do I feel this is like someone's OC on DeviantArt? I love it. Let's do it. So for this shadow anthropomorphic dragon, when I first started this one out, I was trying to think of some type of like more intense, I guess like bat-like figure. So I was going for more of like an aggressive, almost vampire-like pose, and it just was not jiving with me. I didn't like how it was looking. The anatomy was all off. So I was like, I'm going to try something really outside of left field for me and go a little bit further into the anthropomorphic, because I was like, well, maybe, it being on 2 legs and standing upright makes it anthropomorphic, but I'm like, no, let's like really make it anthropomorphic. And I'm so glad that I pivoted and tried this out. So with this one, I wanted it to feel more, I don't know, like moody and kind of like an outcast type of dragon character. And I think my favorite part of this one was trying to figure out the wings, because at first I was like, how am I going to make a wyvern anthropomorphic? I either can make the wings like tiny, so they're not just like huge on this humanoid character, or like I could try to like frame them a certain way, which is kind of what I was thinking with the bat. Like I could have them being like held in front or to the side. And so that was the biggest intimidating thing. But then I was like, what if it was like a cape or like a cloak for this like shadow character? And after I thought of that, everything just started clicking. I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a fun idea. I love this like weird, moody dragon. I don't know why I called him weird. He's not weird. I guess it's just weird because it's not something that I've done before. But I really was jiving with this one, and I thought it would be really cool to have kind of like smoke billowing hair type of thing coming from the crown of his head. So at least how I envision it is that fin that's along the back of his head, I could see like 2 of them on either side, and then the smoke kind of billows out from between them. At least that's kind of how I envisioned it in my brain. But yeah, I was really happy with how this turned out. It was a very intimidating one at the beginning, just because I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with the wings for a wyvern. Because like if I got a drake or like a European dragon or an Asian lung, much easier to figure out anthropomorphic. But I guess I'm happy that I got this instead of like worm for anthropomorphic. I would just be like, well, it's a worm standing up. So either way, this did end up turning out really good. It was intimidating, but I'm glad that it turned out the way it did. It was a good challenge and something I haven't done before, and I love it. Hey guys, welcome back to our Roll for Dragon Smaugust challenge. Basically what I'm doing is every day in August I am drawing a random chance dragon based off of this wonderful list of traits that the community provided and these 6 different dragon types. So you know what, let's go ahead and get rolling and see what we got for day 3. Okay, first up is the D6. Let's see what we get. A 5. So we have a drake today. And then let's get our first trait and see what we get. 7 is a disease. And then let's get our second trait. 53 is neon. Interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do for this. All right, it's a challenge. Let's do it. So for this third day with neon and disease, this was another interesting combo that at first I was like a little intimidated by. So I had to like sit and think about it before I actually started. But then it hit me. I'm like, what if I made the neon the diseased part? And then it clicked very quickly. Because part of me at first I was like, well, it could be like almost like a zombified dragon that has like parts of it diseased and whatever. But I was like, but no, let's just combine them. Let's make the diseased part the neon weirdness. And yes, I kind of still wanted this to be a little zombie-like with this disease that was encasing it. and I absolutely love this one. For any Ghibli fans out there, you might recognize this pattern as well. Basically, the diseased pattern was heavily inspired by when Ashitaka gets touched by the evil boar spirit. I've always really liked that pattern for that diseased growth that's spreading across him. And I was like, oh my God, I can finally use it on something because I just think it's such a cool pattern. And so I took it and I added neon colors and kind of put my own spin to it. It's not exactly same because obviously it was only on his arm. And it did eventually cover more of the body, but it did not go very far. So I had to take a couple liberties in how it would kind of mesh and mold around this creature's body. And for this, like, when I was initially drafting it, I kind of already knew that I wanted his tail to be fallen off. I feel bad, but it was like to really emphasize like this disease is taking a toll on his body. And it gave me like lizard vibes, like basically like when a lizard lobs off its tail to avoid danger. But for this one, I could see it more being like it just fell off due to like maybe the necrosis or like similar to like leprosy with this disease, and maybe eventually it will consume the rest of him in a similar way. So he might potentially lose limbs. I don't know. Or maybe it's just like it goes for like, I don't know, the thinnest limb and lobs it off. I don't know. Either way, the disease took the tail, not me. But yeah, I love how this one turned out. Again, this one was a little confusing for me at first of what I wanted to do. But once I hit it, I'm like, there it is. That's perfect. Hey guys, welcome to day 4 for our Smaugust challenge for Roll for Dragon. Basically what I'm doing is I'm leaving it up to the dice to determine what type of dragon we draw for today's challenge. Okay, first up, let's do the D6. It's a 6, so we have a lindworm today. Okay, let's get our first trait. 50 is amphibious. 79, which is hammerhead. I mean, that worked out. So we have a lindworm, hammerhead, amphibious dragon. I think this will be a really cool dragon, so let's get into drawing it. So for this one, I feel I got really lucky with drawing 2 water-based creatures. Like, that was a perfect roll for this situation. But they were very different creatures, but I was very excited to combine both of them. So for this one, the main inspiration behind like the colors and kind of the texture and those little weird spiny nubs all over its body was actually a real life creature that my friend Janelle sent me. So she sent me this Instagram post and it's a galaxy frog. I was like, it doesn't even look real. Like, how does that exist in our world? It's so crazy, like what actually is here on this planet, you know, because it looks so like alien and weird and it glows and it's really cool. But she sent me that a while ago to maybe use on a Monster Mash or something in the future. But then when I drew amphibian, or I guess when I rolled amphibian for this one, I was like, oh, that's perfect. This is the great opportunity to use that really cool frog. And so I wanted to add all these like almost spike nubs to this creature, both on its face and arms and along its back. And I was also trying to mimic the galaxy frog on where those little nubs were placed on its body to like a certain extent. I couldn't copy it one for one because obviously this is much bigger than a frog. But I tried to get them in similar placements to where it is on the frog as well. And I followed like the spotting pattern that's on its face for this underside of the face for the hammerhead. And this part took a very, very, very long time. I actually had to speed up this footage a lot more than some of these previous dragons just to be within the time constraints because, wow, this one's details were crazy. I don't know, like these digital dragons I've just been going nuts with. I know I did detailing a lot on the 100 dragons and some of the physical ones, but digital is totally my jam and I'm really realizing that. But like these ones, I feel I've just added so much extra detail to these dragons and I love it. They're so cool. So yeah, this one took a very long time, but it was super cool. I also drew the color from the galaxy frog as well. It naturally is that cool, like blue with light blue glowy spikes and an orange belly, and that is the coolest thing ever. So I love how this one turned out. It's an awesome water dragon, and it worked really well with Lindworm, so I was very pleased with it. Hey guys, welcome to another Roll for Dragons for 2024 Smaugust challenge. Basically, we're leaving the fate of this dragon design up to the dice, but now we're on day 5, so let's go ahead and get started with our D6. Okay, D6, let's go. A 3. So here's our first repeat finally. So we're doing another wyvern today. And then let's go ahead and get our first trait, which is 45. Long claws wyvern. And then our second trait is 62. Water. Okay, so we have long clawed water wyvern. That was a mouthful. All right, let's get started and see how this turns out. So for day 5, I thought it was pretty funny that we got 2 water dragons in a row. I wasn't sure how many we were going to get in this challenge. We have quite a few water kind of prompts, but I didn't know how often we would roll them or if they would get paired up like the last one. So I just thought it was really funny that we had 2 water-based ones in a row. And so for this one, I ended up drawing Wyvern, which I've actually done a water-based Wyvern before in the past. It was one of the monster mashes we did. It was like a certain dinosaur with like an octopus, and I can't remember what the other creature was, but it ended up being like almost like a winged water creature. And so I had a similar idea with this one of having the wings be more like fins or like shark fins. Earlier on in the idea, I was going to do like actual wyvern wings and be like, oh yeah, it dives down with these normal bat wings. But I didn't really like how it was looking. And so I went back to this idea of having more of like fin wings. And so this overall inspiration was a combination of shark and the, oh my gosh, what are they called? The lionfish. Man, that took a hot second for me to remember. So my idea was this one would be more in the blue colors, similar to a shark. I could see it blending in with like the light rippling off of the water and kind of being more of a blending in type of predator compared to the lionfish, which is much more bright and red and bold. But I wanted it to also have similar striping to a lionfish. So the stripes are a combination of lionfish patterning, and then I was also seeing it as, like I said, it's almost like the light reflecting off the water so it could blend in more. And that's kind of my overall idea for the patterning on this one. And again, I'm just I guess you could say a glutton for punishment, or I'm just like starting to really vibe with doing more detailed pieces. But this one took a little while as well to get all the striping in and the extra details. But I think it's just because I'm enjoying this series and enjoying what I'm doing that I'm trying to put more and more effort into these designs and actually like really trying to hone my craft and make these designs the best they can be. So even though these are taking quite a bit longer than some of my usual pieces, I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I love how these are turning out, and I think that's what I learned during the time I was taking my break. It's like I want to have quality over quantity, so I'm trying really hard to make these look as awesome as possible, and I think this one turned into a really cool water dragon. Ugh, I love it so much. Hey guys, welcome to our day 6 for our Roll to Dragon challenge. We're almost to a full week of doing this. I'm excited to see where our 6th one leads us. So let's go ahead and get started on the rolls. So basically, first off, we do a d6 to see what type of dragon we're choosing. So it is a 5. And so we have a drake. Another repeat. All right, let's get our first trait. 73. Houndfish snout. And 67. Tea. Tea or coffee. Okay, so we have a houndfish snout with tea or coffee, and it was a drake. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with this, so... So this little dude ended up being probably the cutest one I've drawn so far. I think it's so adorable. And at first I wanted to do coffee when I drew tea or coffee, just because I like both, but I for sure am a coffee girly. So I just like, how can I do coffee? So I was thinking at first the antlers could be like the beans or like the little cherries of the coffee before they're basically plucked and roasted and everything. But it wasn't really conveying very well as I was experimenting with it. And I'm like, no one's going to know what that is, Katelyn. And I didn't want to put just like whole roasted beans all over this dragon. So I ended up going with tea. And one of my favorite teas is actually ginger tea. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my gosh, ginger would be perfect for like horns and like the end of the tail, just those cool, weird, fibrous nubs of ginger. I think those would be perfect for like almost like a spiny spike horn combo. So after figuring that out, I'm like, yep, this is 100% going to be a cute little tea dragon, going to be sitting with a cup of tea, and it's going to be adorable. I also put leaves as kind of like a mane. Obviously, there's tea leaves. I don't think they're that shape, but I just wanted a really fun texture for almost like a mane for this dragon. And I think my favorite part about it is the ginger horns. I'm trying to go back. I'm basically going back and forth on if I want to make a sticker of this one. I know for sure I'm going to make quite a few prints of this series of like my favorite dragons to start taking to Comic-Cons and maybe selling online. But I think this would also make a really cute sticker. So keep an eye out for that. I might convert this guy to a little sticky. But yeah, this one was really fun. It was a bit of a challenge to figure out how I wanted to paint ginger. I haven't really painted something that's that type of texture before. I mean, the closest thing would be kind of like almost like wood bark, but also not. I don't know how to describe it. It was a little bit of a challenge. And then when I was coloring his body, I felt it looked a little plain. And so I added kind of some texturing that I wanted it to be reminiscent of like almost like a snake pattern, but I also wanted it to kind of look like little bubbles and have similar colors to like tea and honey. And so yeah, that's kind of like my thought for that back coloring. And then I was just getting stuck in doing the final bit of shading, and I love this guy. It's such a cute one. This again was an interesting prompt because I was like, what am I going to do with tea or coffee? And this feels very much like almost like a Monster Mash, where I had to combine this weird fish snout with a dragon with a plant-based material. And I think it turned out really good. Hey guys, welcome to day 7 for Roll for Dragon. We have made it. We have done a full week. This will be our 7th one. So let's go ahead and start with the D6. Let's see what we get. A 1. Finally, we're doing a European dragon. Wow, that took forever. And then let's go for our first trait. So 36, we have a ice dragon. And then, okay, it's 52 is, oh Christ. I was hoping I would never roll this one, but here we are, a big-butted ice dragon. That's a European style. Oh boy, yep, we're getting into this one. So I had a couple people online be like, well, if you didn't want to draw like or roll the big-butted one, why did you put it on there? I'm like, well, they were community suggestions, and I really felt like putting all of them. And like, I have to put some that are kind of weird and funky and fun, so we got big-butted. But yeah, this one was interesting because at first with the tail up, it looked like a horse ready to poop. I'm like, let's not do that. And yeah, this was an interesting one for me because I was like, how do I show a European dragon with a big butt without it being too weird? I didn't want it to be like too, I don't know, weird, I guess is the only word I can think of. So I was like, well, just going to make a very cool designed ice dragon that just has really thick thighs. And yes, there is a booty, but it's not like a weird over-the-top booty. It's still got a butt, but I wanted it to be cute and tasteful. And I am happy with how this one turned out. It ended up being very cute, very adorable. I feel this ice dragon has so much sass and like knows what they're about. And yeah, I just had fun making this cute, fun little sassy dragon. It was also fun to do the ice coloring, because I did an ice dragon back in the 100 Dragon Challenge, and I remember finding it kind of limiting with the Copic markers. But with this one, I could really get the range of colors that I was hoping for a more dragon-like texture and coloring, and I was very happy with how this one turned out. And I wanted like the spikes and the horns to kind of look like glaciers or almost like ice rocks in a way, or like sheets of ice. I think I could have done that a little bit better, but I wanted to keep this one like in that cutesy small dragon vibe. So it was just like a balancing act of doing detailing, but then also keeping it a little less detailed to have more of like a chibi, cute dragon. So yeah, I think it still turned out really cute. This one was an interesting one to do. I'm glad it was so well received because I didn't know how people would react online and being like, oh, there's Katelyn doing a weird big-butted dragon. But yeah, I'm glad it's been seen more as cute instead of me being a weirdo. Hey guys, we're back for another week of Roll for Dragon for Smaugust 2024. We're going to be basically rolling a d6 to determine what type of dragon we're drawing, and then we're going to be rolling 2 random traits using a d100. All right, so let's get started and see what day 8 is going to be. We got a 3. Okay, so that is going to be another wyvern. Maybe one day we'll get a worm. Okay, now we're going to roll our 2 dice for our d100. 39, so it's going to be porcelain. Let's get our second trait, which is 88. Octopus. Wyvern, porcelain, octopus. This is going to be a very interesting day 8. Let's get started. So this was another pretty intimidating one when I first rolled this. I was like, porcelain. That's going to be an interesting one because I was like, do I make it like kind of like made of the vase texture? Do I make it have the coloring of the vase texture? And then adding an octopus, which is like the opposite of porcelain. It's like flowy and wiggly and wavy. It's not like a hard ceramic. And I'm like, oh God, what is this combo gonna be? So at first I made this like almost like kite gliding one because I wanted to show like those weird little tentacle arms of the octopus, but I really didn't like how that was looking. So I was like, what if it was more like in a sail position, kind of like this overarching draped type of octopus look? And that I was finally jiving with so much more. I'm like, okay, that looks like what I was hoping. And then that also gave us some places to put that porcelain texture and make it look really, really cool. So I was really jiving with this one. I was very surprised with how many water ones we got within these first 9 days. I'm like, oh man, there's so many cool sea dragons. It's really fun. And then when I was going into coloring this is where I was hitting my initial snag. I kind of just went with what felt right for this one. I had no plan going in when coloring, except I knew I wanted the base to be that grayish white porcelain, and then I was going to add blue to have like the painted blue accents throughout the body, but I didn't know where I wanted them. I had no plan at all on where they were going to be placed, what texture was going to go where. I just had a couple of different reference images of like porcelain vases and plates and other things, and I was like, we're going to figure it out. Because yeah, I was kind of going with what felt right for this one, just because I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do with porcelain. And I really like how this one ended up turning out, doing a lot of like the bigger, cooler designs on the sails of like these tentacle wings. And then a lot of the porcelain I noticed had these like quick like hash marks on them, either for like shading and texturing or I guess shading or texturing. I answered both of them. So I wanted to carry that throughout the body design. I really liked it on the back, but I really wanted it throughout in other places. So I also put it on like the little sucker tentacles as well. I did struggle a bit with how far I wanted to take this, because I knew I wanted to put everything in the blues. And until I started putting in those quick I guess, marks on the fins and then the little bit of gradient blue on the grayish white. I was like struggling with if I was putting too much detail or not enough detail or where to place these porcelain textures, but slowly but surely it all came together. Just adding those couple little hash marks, it didn't really overwork it. It let the eye be drawn to the blue porcelain shapes. I love how like the stomach turned out and it was kind of like the opposite of the other blues. It just all came together so well. And even though it was really scary to work with porcelain, I think this made me appreciate the texturing and the patterning of porcelain even more. Hey everybody, we're back for day 9 of our Roll for Dragon 2024 Smaugust. Basically, I'm rolling a random dragon every day for the month of August to draw some type of cool dragon. All right, so for day 9, let's go ahead and get our rolls going. All right, let's check this out. 1. So we have another European dragon. All right, let's get our first trait. 34. That is Harlequin. Let's get our second trait. 68. Broken. Interesting. Okay, so we have to do a European Harlequin broken dragon. So I guess let's get some sketches going and figure out what we're going to do with this one. All right, let's wrap it up with this final one for the week, which was day 9. This one was a hard one. I was going back and forth on a few ideas with the Harlequin and broken. I was like, well, I could make a dragon that's like actually broken in some way, and maybe we could do like Harlequin colors like from one of the animals that exist, like the rabbits or the ducks or different things. And that was kind of my initial idea, but I just wasn't liking what I was kind of concepting in my brain before jumping into this final piece. But then I was like, it'd be really cool to kind of break out of, I guess, a creature design and do more of like a set piece, I guess. There's not really any hard, fast rules for this Smaugust. So I was like, let's try something that I don't do very often and kind of do a background piece and like push myself to make something that looks like it's made out of stone. But then I added some cute little dragons that are like kind of playing amongst this statue. And then I decided that I wanted to take this into hard mode and do like an official Harlequin diamond pattern. I don't know what I was thinking, because basically every one of those I used the lasso tool to make the diamond shaped pattern, and then I would take my airbrush and like brush in the colors, because I wanted this to look like an old decrepit statue that maybe was part of like a town square or like some type of celebration, and it was painted all nice and fancy, but it's just deteriorated and broken down over the years. And so I wanted that look of like degeneration or like degradation. I'm saying all the wrong words. Anyway, it's falling apart. So I wanted that look with every color I added, so I had to do this airbrush effect, but I didn't want the airbrush to hit any of the other colors, so the lasso tool was kind of the only way to make that work, which I did really like the process of working with this. A couple artists I follow actually use this process a lot when rendering creatures and characters, and I haven't really tried it for myself, so I'm like, let's go in and try a new skill, and I actually really like how it turned out. It's not exactly how they use it, but it's a way that I found to use it. But with that, it took a very long time. This speed paint is very sped up to meet our time constraints, because holy wow, this one took a very, very long time. So after I put in all of those colors, I also wanted to add like a worn effect to the stone, and there was this amazing brush on the Clip Studio Marketplace that I just used to add like the flecks of looking like the paint was coming off and you can see the stone behind it. And I just really love how it looks weathered and old and worn out. I honestly might reuse this in the future for Fox Among Hounds, just like placing it somewhere. So if you see it in the background of the comic, you're like the insider. You'll know that this random dragon statue was from my Smaugust challenge, and I just wanted to throw it in the comic because it's going to be a cool background piece. But yeah, I love how this one turned out. It was an interesting combo of like prompts, but I'm very happy with it. So yeah, that was the first week of Smaugust. Well, I guess, I don't know if you count 1 through 7 as first week, but I'm counting 1 through 9 as first week to match up with our Friday release dates. But I really liked how these dragons were turning out, and it feels like my 100 dragon challenge walked, so this one could run, if that makes sense. I feel these dragons have been some of the best I've ever created, and some of the most fun I've had with creatures. I don't know if it's the combo of just like me being so excited to go full-time with art, mixed with like just the practice of the 100 Dragon Challenge and how much it's improved my dragon and creature designs. I don't know, maybe it's a bit of everything, but I am really liking how these are turning out. I'm so excited to do more for the rest of Smaugust. These have been a blast. It's crazy though, like being able to do a full rendered piece basically every day. It's really cool to see the improvement, I guess, over the years. So it's just awesome. So if you want a sneak peek at some of the next dragons for the rest of the month, or you want to see like the high res versions of any of these dragons, check out my Patreon. I released the high resolution art of the artwork for my videos coming up, so then you can kind of have a little bit of a behind the scenes sneak peek, but also get to see the high resolution art as well. And then I'm going to be adding a couple more new goodies to the Patreon supporters. So if you want to help me kind of make this my career, help me, you know, support my little art illustration business and me going full-time, I would really appreciate your support on Patreon. And to my current patrons, I just want to say thank you as well for your support. They're all listed right here. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. But either way, thank you guys again for stopping by and checking out our Smaugust week 1. I'm so excited to show you the next week. Oh, there's so many cool dragons coming up. So I will see you all next time for another video. Bye, everybody.